Hey guys, it's Eddie Speed. What if you had a deal where you had a hard money loan where somebody had lent you the money out of a self-directed retirement account, and then because of the market conditions, it made a lot more sense to offer seller financing than it did try to wait on a bank and get a regular mortgage. Well, that's what happened in this case study coming up. This is a real estate investor buddy of mine. He's a high volume guy. I intentionally didn't name him or the city because he is a very high volume guy, because I really just didn't want to make his story good or bad really the equation as much as possibilities and how you could solve the problem. So he had a hard money lender that lent money out of his self-directed retirement account, but he wanted to seller finance. So you take a large seller finance note and a large hard money loan that needs to be paid off. And how do you merge those together? That's what this case study is about. This is fairly complex. So you may want to stop and start and listen to it again. And we tried to position it where you'll be able to do that. Hope this is helpful to you. All right, Joe, we're going to take a break about 30 minutes into this.
Right.
Or 30 more minutes into this. So I'm gonna spin your head off. Okay.
Yeah, you better hold on for this one, guys. So,
but I'm not doing it to jack with you. I'm doing it to show you that this is a problem solver market. And if you start doing this, this is a pretty advanced strategy. I don't expect your baby crawling steps to be this strategy. I think everything we've just done to this point that you could do.
Yes.
But I want to tell you something. A friend of mine, very seasoned investor, very seasoned, would be savvy by anybody's standard, calls me and says, I've got a seller finance puzzle. He said, I got this house. He said it was a Craftsman. So I guess it's an old Sears house.
Right,
Joe.
Yep, it is.
Then they turn around and on the back of this house, they put, they built out, like a mother-in-law kind of a setup. And he said, this is a good house. And he said, it has been my project from hell. And I'm sure that nobody on the call has ever had one of those.
Nobody. I'm sure there's more than one of these out there right now, by the way.
So he says, I bought it for $220. He says, I'm going to put 90,000 in it. And he says, then I'm going to have 310 in it. Okay. He said, but something bad happened. And he said, I went from the good to the bad. And he said, forget 90 grand, I got 180 in it. And he said, forget 310, I got 400 in it.
Right.
He said, I'm on the wrong side of this deal. Now, by the way, he would have allowed me to say his name, but I don't think saying his name makes it good or bad. And I just chose, because this is kind of the deal that, kind of hang your head deal, I just chose to take his name and his city out of the deal. This is a real case study.
Right.
Okay. So plan A was he acquired the property with a hard money loan. The hard money let him finish part of the construction. He had a bunch of cash in himself. He said, it was my rehab from hell. And so he puts it under contract with a new lender, and this is just about the time. And Joe, this probably was about 30 days ago.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Could be wrong, but I think this was about 30 days ago. And this is when all that non-QM and all that stuff crashed.
That's right.
So this lady's going to buy the house, and she's going to get a non-QM loan and pay 90 grand down. And all of a sudden, oh crap, the market fell apart, can't get a mortgage.
Yep.
So the buyer falls through, and so he markets it at, oh, I'm sorry, no, the buyer originally fell out, and then he said, I'm just going to market it as seller financing. So let me tell you what let me tell you another market condition, guys, that I see. When I talk about seller financing a property, most people, well, not most people, some people seller finance kind of a substandard house,
Right. To a
in a
substandard
substandard neighborhood. And that somehow then they look at the substandard house and the substandard neighborhood and they think they're going to get a real superior buyer. Okay. Well, somehow that math doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. And so I want you to look at the notes you create and you're now selling with a note. I want it to be your bank. I want them to be rock solid. I want them to pay every month. I want them to be perfect. Okay. And so the way you do that is you sell a substandard, I mean, a above standard property, not a substandard, an above standard property with private financing for deserving buyers with large down. Okay. Private financing to deserving buyers with large down. I didn't say seller financing in the ad. I didn't say no banks. I specifically said that because I've tested this ad more than anything. I believe I've tested this more than anybody alive.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've had so many people we've helped do this.
Right.
So he found somebody that's got 90 grand down with that ad and good credit. Right? But he doesn't have enough money to pay off the hard money lender. And he needs part of the 90 grand because he's got a bunch of cash in this deal. All right. So the question is, how do you satisfy all parties? All right. So here's the deal. He's got a hard money lending balance of 350. The real estate investor has 50 grand cash in it, which puts him at the 400. So that's kind of shows you where he's at his capital stack, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, on the other hand, the buyer's got 90,000 down and he's going to carry a seller finance note for 325. He said, I'm trying to figure out how to get my hard money lender happy. They lent me money out of their self-directed retirement account and they're a friend. Okay. And he said, I'm just in a pickle on this. It just, the math isn't working out right. I said, okay. I said, well, here's the deal. You got a hard money lending balance of 350. You got a 325 seller finance note and you're getting 90,000 down. Why don't you give your hard money lender 25 of your 90, swap them your seller finance note for a payoff instead of taking cash payoff, swap them your note, and that does your
350.
Okay. And I said, obviously, if you're looking at your deal, then they're getting, that's how their cops, that you're solving the problem. You're selling it for 415, 90 grand down, and you're giving them 25 of your 90, which gives you 65, right? So they've got to, Joe, take a note in lieu of cash.
Correct.
Okay. So the hard money lender doesn't really like this deal because he's wanting some money to go back out in the market. Right. Okay. But he's willing to keep some play in the deal.
Right.
Right. Now I've structured this two totally different ways. You are looking at one way I structured it. And then I showed him another option that was completely different.
Okay? And Eddie, let me just say this and get your opinion on this. Even though he may not have been, this was his number one choice 30 days ago, I'll bet that he's probably pretty thankful that we were able to show the real estate investor how to do this, because now his money is still deployed instead of having to go out and look for somebody else to lend it to. What do you think?
Well, I'm just saying, guys, here's the deal, right? If there's any lender in the market on the hard money lending side, any classification of a lender that's got problems out there, it's the guy that lent money out of his self-directed retirement account, right? I mean, all these self-directed retirement account companies brag, oh my God, you know, certain percent of all of our loans are in notes and stuff, and they're not talking about seller finance notes, they're talking about hard money. Well, you got an unprofessional lender, an untrained underwriter lending money probably to not the A customer. Now, this guy is an A customer, right? But it starts showing you that there's all other opportunities out there. A lot of times, Joe, right now, people are already firing up on Facebook. Hey, man, you know, the short sales are coming back. Well, let me just tell you something. I've spent a lot of years of my life every month in a loss mitigation department of a lender. Okay. I have been in a loss mitigation department of a lender for every month in for at least 15 or 20 of my 40 years in the business. And let me just explain this to you. Lenders don't trigger losses now that they can't take. So thinking that you're going to call up a mortgage company and they're going to sell a loan to you at a gigantic discount, there's one trip switch to that. And that is they have to have already charged down on their books what they have that loan on their books for. And so when they sell it to you at a discount, they're not triggering a loss. They've already taken the loss.
Right.
And I will assure you that this is how loss mitigation departments really function. They don't trigger losses they can't take.
That's right.
Okay. People with hard money loans out with self-directed retirement accounts don't necessarily need all their money back.
It's true.
Right. So if I were targeting problematic loans at the moment that I was really going to try to go figure out some opportunity with all this virus stuff, my number one smell that I'd be smelling down would be hard money loans made by self-directed retirement accounts. That would be my number one today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So what this situation is here is a legitimate operator, good operator.
Yes.
And he's trying to keep his hard money lender whole, but yet he's trying to figure out how to keep something out of the deal too. Okay. I'll progress. Come on here, babe. Well, Joe, I'm clicking.
There you go. Sometimes your cursor gets caught in the screen and you've got to move it before you can click forward on it. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, so there's the math. This is what we've been talking about. So the hard money lender gets 25 of the 90. So here's the seller finance note. This wasn't a giant rate. It was 5.99. So he's going to seller finance 325, 5.99, 1946 is the payment, 30-year AM, and it does have an 8-year balloon. Why 8 years, Joe?
Because we want to make sure and get the money back to our hard money lender within 8 years or so.
Okay, I can't put a balloon on a consumer loan that's 5 years.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, exactly.
Because of Dodd-Frank. I can't do it 6. I can't do it 7. Right? 8 years is the closest balloon to be compliant with Dodd-Frank that I can put out there.
Right.
That's why 8 years.
Right.
But I don't want to make a 30-year commitment to this lady. I want to make an 8-year commitment. Way difference.
Now, let's just make sure that everybody's with us, because we kind of took a break there for a second and got off. This is the resale side, guys. This is the borrow that's paying $410 for the property, $415 with the 90 down, and we've got a $325 loan. at 5.99%.
This is the seller finance note.
Correct.
This is the seller finance note. Okay. So it's got an 8-year balloon of 285. Payments of stream of payments every month of 1946 for 95 months and then a balloon. Okay. It looks like that. So there's a picture of a graph in Excel.
Eddie,
How about me now, Joe?
what you got? We can see your screen, but I can't see you. There you
Okay,
go.
Josh. All right, got it. Sorry. So so then that's what your 8-year balloon looks like, and obviously at the end there's your 285. Okay. It kicked me off again. That's weird. Okay. Now, Joe, you may not believe this, but every time I click this thing, it's clicking the camera off.
There you go. Got it.
Okay. So here's the note. This is the seller finance note. It does have a balloon. And so it looks like that. There's your cash flow.
Right.
All right. The hard money lender is going to take this note in trade of a cash payoff. Okay. But he wants more cash up front.
Correct.
So what could he do? One thing he could do was the hard money lender in his self-directed retirement account could go find a passive investor that could buy the payments up to the balloon. He could buy the payments up to the balloon, the 96 payments up to the balloon, and then he could keep the balloon, the 285 balloons. Now, that's a typo. It's actually 285. Sorry.
Yeah.
Fixed that slide this morning, but I didn't fix it well enough, Joe. So, Joe, the guy that made the hard money loan owns a note receivable.
Correct.
Right? He bought a note, an asset.
Correct.
A receivable, it's a monthly payment, and he could then sell the stream of payments on that note up to the balloon to another investor.
Right.
We got this lawyer named Jeff Watson, who my wife and I spent a lot of time with writing that partial agreement that would fit this passive investor.
Correct.
Dealing from the security side and from the safety side and all of those things. And I have done, this is called a partial, and I have done over 20,000 of these in my career. So
and let me tell you something.
Confidence that they will work.
Investors love partials for a multitude of reasons.
Listen, you're a passive investor. You're going to fund $148,000 to be in a first position on a $415,000 piece of property. The lady paid 90 grand down on.
Right.
Right? I mean, I don't know what you think's a good deal or what you think is safe. That's in the money.
It's in the money.
But that leverage now allows the guy with a self-directed retirement account. So, Joe, I look at it like a pizza shop, right? If I had this pizza, right, and it cost me $6 to make it, and how could I make profit? Well, I could sell it for $12, or I could do what else? Sell it by the slice.
Right.
If you can do it to a pizza, you can do it to a note. Now, by the way, you have to know how to do this correctly so that you're not positioning yourself wrong with the securities issues. Okay. Right. So I have a lot to say about that. Okay. So he then sells that cash flow to a passive investor, 95 months, and he's going to keep the balloon. So the guy in the self-directed retirement account has taken his asset, his note that he took in trade of a payoff. He's taken it, he's got the payment stream and the balloon.
Right.
For the payment stream, the hard money lender, now note seller. So our guy that constructed all that, that would be the lady in this picture. Then he sort of helps find this passive investor, right? Who is the passive investor? It's a burnout landlord. You want to know who it is? It's a burnout landlord. So now this hard money lender has this stream of payments, and he sells that stream of payments to this passive lender. You see that money just move over there, Joe?
Man, I saw it just roll right under there under this guy. Yep.
I just want to make sure you saw that. I worked hard to make sure that was going to do that.
Well, you know, and we've got a great question there, Eddie. It says, what in the world do you use to create these graphs?
Well, now you've entered my passion. Okay. My passion is to explain a concept to you using pictures and graphs and positioning how I explain it so that you get it.
That's right.
And I will tell you that it is not a small effort. We put a lot of effort into this, right? So yeah. I appreciate your acknowledgement. So
Eddie is the highest paid PowerPoint guy in the world.
By the way, just so you know this, that we, you know, this morning, Joe and I worked 4 hours on a shared screen as hard as we could work doing this. And we had already put these case studies together before today. But, but we are trying to show you a fairly advanced concept. And I want to make sure that we don't make it confusing.
Correct.
It's okay to have something advanced. It's not okay to have something confusing.
Right.
Right. So let me go back. The passive investor bought a cash flow of 95 months of $19.46 a month, and he pays the now note owner, former hard money lender,
correct,
for that cash flow. In fact, he pays him for that cash flow $148,115. And by the way, it's a 6% yield if you want to know what it is.
That's right.
So now he's the partial buyer, and he's got literally first position with $148,000 owed to him on a $415,000 house. I really believe that if you understand how to carve up cash flows and you understand how to put a passive lender in a crazy, safe, good position, I think with the stock market, and I think because of the rental property hate, that was happening before then, and I'm like, well, you're not in rental. Let me just tell you all I know, right? All I know is there's 18 million residential doors more than there were 10 years ago.
Right.
And I know that those people show up at NoteSchool on a regular basis, and they don't have the happy factor, right? I'm not saying everybody that owns a rental isn't happy. I'm just saying 30 or 40% of them aren't happy. And I have found out that those guys will put out private capital funding these business models over and over and over. Our job is to structure it in such a manner that it's so good, they're like, how can I lose? I'd rather be the bank than a landlord.
Correct.
That's my position. Now, so the investor that bought the partial, remember I have the guy with a self-directed retirement account took this seller finance note, and he's now sold the payments, and he's keeping the balloon. So he has a $285,000 balloon at the end owed to him.
But again, remember, he got $25,000 as well, and I think we're going to show that in just a second.
Yeah. Now, hold on. Sorry about that. Now let's add to the graph, Joe. Now we have the loan with the payments up to the balloon, and now we enter our partial investor. And the blue is how his amortization looks.
Pays off, right?
There's his 96 months. And my guy owns the balloon at the end with 285 remaining. Okay? All right, so here's the grand finale, right? The original loan was 350. He got $173,000, Joe, in two forms.
25.
got 25 at the closing, and he sold a partial for 148.
Correct.
Okay. He has $176,000 remaining money in this deal.
Right.
This is today. Okay. For 8 years, he's not going to get any payments, but at the end, he's going to get $285,201. And so that means he's doing fairly good making money on a deal that otherwise was just going to not be good.
Right.
And by the way, he's now got about 50% of his note back recapitalized. So now all of a sudden he can go do something with it.
That's right.
Right? And then he's got the other half of his money that's just growing.
You know, and this was a situation where, you know, it would have been a bad deal. The real estate investor, the original fix and flip investor, also backed himself out of this as well.
This is why I'm showing you guys this. You're going to have opportunities either with something that you have or something that somebody else has to go walk themselves through a scenario that otherwise if it's just buy low, sell high, and it's just do it all with cash today, or it's just to do it all with conventional lending that would have been available 60 days ago, it's just a different world.
Right.
This is how you maneuver yourself through it. This is why I said to you at the beginning of the presentation, in my history in the past, real estate investors have been very teachable and very smart at learning these techniques. They have been able to utilize them when traditional realtors can't utilize them.
Correct.
I say advantage real estate investor. Okay, so here's at the closing, he gets $25,000. He sells a partial. There's his 178.73. Okay, this is our hard money lender. He gets that money right away, which he can redeploy in some other deal. He gets a balloon of 285 at the end of 8 years. That's future money. Now he gets $458,000 total in this deal for a $350,000 loan. I mean, the hard money lender's making $108,000, and he got half his money back.
That's right.
He makes $108,000 on keeping $176,000 deployed.
See, we didn't calculate that, did we?
Well, that's
the benefit, yeah.
So most of you know this because you know me. I call it being a deal architect because I think that's what this is, right? My guy got $65,000 at the closing. He's got rehab expenses in it at $50,000, and let's just say he comes out of this deal with his shirt on. So, Joe, when we come back, I'm going to take the exact case study and I'm going to do something totally different with it. Same hard money lender, same seller finance note. We're going to recarve it, recut it, rechange it. I'm going to do something completely different with us. Okay?
Sounds like a plan.
What do we need to clean up? What do we need to clean up before break?
We had a question from Merrick. He says it was a question on Kevin Moan's note, the air note, basically. He said, what keeps them from going to the courthouse and recording that?
Because they don't have a mortgage.
That's right. It's just a note, just a promissory note, right?
The security agreement has got to be a mortgage or a deed of trust. A note is not a security agreement.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is 4:27. Let's take 15 minutes. So what does that put us back? About 4:43, something like that.
Okay.
So I am going to take the screen and I'm going to put on some of the NoteSchool community out there, and we'll come back. It'll have a countdown clock. So we'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes, just 15 minutes here, guys. All right. You about ready to start this baby back up? You want to take, you got screen back?
Give me the screen back, if you will.
Okay, I was just texting with Seth, and he said his words, Mom said she's done. Time for that little girl to come out. Within the week, she should be here. So let's see.
All right.
So he's on. So let's see.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay.
Able to take it back.
I think it'll let me do it. Okay. So look, I had a couple of communications during the break.
Okay.
And I'm gonna quickly kind of go over this waterfall on this last deal one more time.
Makes sense.
And then I'm gonna go forward with it. So let me make sure, Joe, you're looking at the correct screen.
That's the COVID screen. Just got to slide down.
Hold on. It started the wrong spot. Sorry about that. But I can fix it. Hold on a second. All right. So remember the story. Real estate investor buys a property, and this is the property that he ended up with too much money in. Okay. He's got a hard money lender who's a lender out of a self-directed retirement account. Okay. Now, whether you could equate to every bit of this being a story that could be yours, or you could equate to 25% of it or 50% of it, it's just a case study, right? But some piece of it shows you down the road. Think in terms of this. This may not be today something exactly how you think, but this is the kind of thing that you can learn that traditional realtors are not going to be good at.
Right.
And by the way, this is a rescue plan. This isn't a long-term bank plan. It's a rescue plan. So the hard money lender had lent $350,000.
Right.
Okay. The real estate investor had an additional 50 in it, meaning he had 400,000 in this rehab from hell property.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He markets it for a penalty box buyer. That's somebody that doesn't have bad credit. They have good credit, good down. Joe, they're called just missed.
Just missed buyers. That's right.
And from my years in the business, and then out of the backside of this virus, the just missed factor, I believe, is going to be very high.
It's going to be huge. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So you don't have to finance somebody. Why would you finance the bottom worst of the people? Finance the people that are right next to the people that just can't get financing anymore. Right. Marketing has a lot to do with that. Okay.
Get what you market for.
So the buyer's paying $90,000 down. He's going to carry a seller finance note for $325,000, meaning that he's selling the house for $415,000. Okay. So he doesn't have a lot of margin in it, even if he's selling it for cash.
Right.
Right. But he's not selling it for cash. He has a hard money lender. It's owed $350,000. So he owes a hard money lender $350,000. He says, let me swap you my seller finance note. Plus, I'll give you of my 90 grand cash, I'll give you 25 of it. So he'll take the 325 note and 25 cash, and that's what pays off his hard money loan. Right. But in order to do that, he's going to have to nurture how he deals with his hard money lender, because this is his buddy, right? He doesn't want to run the guy off.
Right.
So he knows he's going to have to help him with the partial and help him with a passive investor that could buy the partial cash flow, right? So my real estate investor is not completely done here, because he's going to have to facilitate some things that the hard money lender just probably can't do on his own, right? But the hard money lender's not going to lose money, right? So there's the hard money loan. He gets 25 at the closing, and then he said, and at the time the house sells, it sells for $415,000, and the buyer pays $90,000 down. So 25 of the 90 goes to the hard money lender as a pay down on his loan.
Right.
Okay. That leaves $65,000 over in the real estate investor's checking account. Okay.
And the loan is for the loan to the new buyer, the end buyer is $325,000, and then there's a $325,000 loan to the hard money lender.
He's paying off the hard money loan by swapping him a seller finance note.
Right.
Right. Just get that process going in your head. So here's the deal. He got 25 down. He's going to end up with 65,000 to the real estate investor. The seller finance note that the real estate investor is taking back and now going to transfer to the hard money lender is this loan. It's 325,000, 30-year amortization, 8-year balloon. Why an 8-year balloon? Is because that's the shortest balloon you can put on it and still get around Dodd-Frank requirements. So that is a strategic balloon that he put it at 8 years and not 7 and not 6 and whatever, right? So he's got a balloon at the end. That's what the amortization looks like. That's just a picture of a graph in Excel that shows you the picture of the loan. Start out at 325. It goes to 285 at the end of 8 years. So the principal payoff, the balloon, the end of 8 years is 285. 285, 201. Okay. The hard money lender says, I own a cash flow, or at least the real estate investor points it out to him.
Right.
He owns a cash flow and he owns a balloon. He owns, essentially, you could separate the assets into two things, the cash flow and the balloon, right? So he says, I could sell the blue and keep the orange, right? So I fully understand that the real estate investor would have to be a facilitator here. Without a facilitator, it's not going to work well, okay? So the real estate investor has his hard money lender. This is his buddy, right? He's now a note seller, former hard money lender.
Right.
He's going to sell a partial of this cash flow to the hard money, to the passive investor, right? He's going to transfer the note, and for that note, the passive investor is going to pay him just under $150,000 for that 95 payments at 1946. All right. So he sells this cash flow 95 payments for $148,115. You plug it in a financial calculator for 95 months, it's a 6% annual return on your investment, right? It's a 6% annuity.
Right.
Right. And then at the end, you got a balloon. And that former hard money lender, now note owner, owns that balloon.
Right.
So now this is what the graph looks like with both scenarios in the same graph. Here is the loan itself, and the blue is the partial investor. So the orange is the entire note. The blue is the partial investor. Look how the partial investor's amortization ends up at 0 on the 96th month. So the hard money lender had $350,000 in this deal. He got 25,000 cash, Joe, and he sold a partial for 148. That leaves him with recoupment money of 173. So he's gotten essentially about half his money back.
Correct.
Okay. He has $176,000 still at risk, right? And that's today. And then in 8 years, he's going to get a $285,000 balloon. That's a $108,000 growth.
That's right.
Right? So the hard money loan He got 25 at the closing. He sold the partial for 148. There, that's how he got to the 173. So he's gotten that back. He's going to get a balloon of 285 at the end, which is, you add that money he's gotten today plus the money he's going to get at the balloon. He's got 458,000 coming back into his account, and he originally made a loan for 350.
Right.
Add it up, that's $108,000 interest on his investment.
That's correct. Yeah, I'd say that's a home run at any point.
Look, it's, you know, we can debate, you know, good or bad or whatever. It's a rescue plan.
Right.
Right? It's a way to have a rescue plan. The guy doesn't lose his butt.
That's right.
Right?
And, you know, Eddie, I mean, and if the investor, you know, said, I'm okay with the 25,000 now, we'll balloon it in 8 years. He could have just kept the monthly payments too, right? He didn't have to sell it if he didn't want to. He didn't have to sell the partial.
Correct. Okay, so got 65,000. The real estate investor guide, he's got 50 grand in it. And so he comes out of it not having to have a big loss.
Right.
Okay. So I hope that was helpful. Hopefully we didn't waste too much time, but you know, just to make sure that you got this, because Joe, the hard money lender, didn't like the deal.
Yep.
He didn't like it. He tells my guy, it's really a clever structure, but I want my money back quicker than 8 years.
Right.
So what you gonna do now, right?
I think there is something else we could do, right?
So go back. This is just a quick review. Hard money lender has a payoff of 350. He gets 50,000 of the money at the closing now. Okay. Same closing, same buyer, same down payment, but now he gets 50 of the 90. He gets 40,000 up front. He gets a little more of the closing, and he says, I could live with that, but I don't want my money out over 3 years.
Right.
Now, my guy that has created a seller finance note can't put a 3-year balloon with his consumer, right? So against Dodd-Frank requirements. So here is another way you could do it. The hard money lender gets 50. My guy ends up with 40 at the closing. He has 50 in it, Joe.
So he's 10,000.
He's got 10,000.
Not lost, just
not lost, not yet.
Just not yet.
Okay. Joe, a note is an asset.
That's correct.
Okay. A rental property is an asset. Can you borrow money against a rental property?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you can borrow money against a rental property, you can borrow money against a note.
Just cash flow.
It's an asset.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, I'm going to give you this amount of money at the closing, 50 grand, and you loan me 300,000, and I'm going to pledge my seller finance note receivable to you, and you're going to make a loan to me. So this seller finance note is not transferred as a sale,
right,
but it's now collaterally transferred as a loan. Okay. So he says, loan me the money. I need some help on the rate. And he said, I'll give you all of my cash flow. And at the end of 3 years, I'm going to owe you a balloon of $289,724. Secured by what? Secured by this $325,000 seller finance note.
right.
Okay. So here's the note. This is the note secured by the property.
Right.
Right. It has a balloon at the end of 8 years. Okay, there's the cash flow. So what does he do? He borrows money from the self-directed IRA lender and gives him all of his payments and says, in 3 years, I'll pay you off. I got 3 years to walk myself out of this.
Correct.
Okay. So he then signs a note collaterally assigning his mortgage that he owns.
Right.
Signs a note to self-directed IRA lender for $300 at a higher interest rate than the interest rate on the note. There's his monthly payment, $1945, and at the end of 3 years, he owes him $289,000. Now, by the way, let me just tell you something. I have borrowed money like this of over $100 million in my life,
right,
where I bought a note and pledged it to a lender.
Right.
So it is a
every day.
thing, right? And by the way, I'm a happy soul today that I don't owe some warehouse lender on a mortgage credit facility a bunch of money.
Right.
So I do all of this today. I know institutions that will do this that aren't really credit facilities for big mortgage companies. So you're saying, Eddie, do you know lenders, if this self-directed guy needs to be paid off in 3 years and I can't sell the note, do you know other lenders I could go pledge the note to? And the answer is yes. So you take this note, it is collateral for that loan there.
Correct.
So look here, look at the top one. This is the note receivable. This is the note secured by the property in the blue.
Mm-hmm.
And the one in the red is the loan from the self-directed IRA account. So Joe, I have the seller finance note.
Yes.
I pledged it as collateral, and now I've signed a note from a guy with a self-directed retirement account and put my seller finance real estate note receivable up as collateral.
Right, that's correct.
So there's the note receivable, and I looked at what both of them owe at the end of 3 years. And if you look to the right side, Joe, I owe my self-directed retirement account guy $289,
right,
but I'm owed $312, so I've got a little equity.
That's a little money there.
Well, that is basically shows you what it looks like. There's the payoff, which is $289, and then here is the payoff on the whole loan. So you can see there's a little fudge factor built in this deal.
Right.
By the way, if you look to the right of the right line going up and down, it shows you that I've got a note that now has 5 years remaining and a balloon.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty valuable, secured by that property, secured by that buyer. That's a pretty dang valuable note to go sell in the secondary market.
Absolutely.
And I have done this 40,000 times. So I am telling you, this is a market condition that you can live with.
That's correct.
So the point that I wanted to make here is my phone rings with a guy and says, Eddie, I've got this problem. Seller financing seems like it's an answer. How do I do it? So my mission in this training today is just simply a give back, right? I'm trying to show you guys what is possible if traditional lending, something happens where it's not the same as it was. I'm not trying to be a fear monger. I'm not trying to go light your fire and say, oh my God, it's like anybody that absolutely can say they can tell you exactly what's going to happen, we know not to listen to them, right? But we all can kind of suspect that these types of strategies will be the future. They have historically been the future in the past in these market conditions. And if they are, I'm trying to say that there are definitely solutions in the market that'll work. So this is obviously just a small glimpse of what's possible. Different paths to choose from. Now, these paths can be limitless in the options that they can give you if they're part of how you structure deals or how you know that you can structure deals. Imagine if you had this tool in your toolbox. Well, if you had this tool in your toolbox and you regularly knew how to use it and you could lay it in whenever it would fit, what would that do for you? This is what we love being able to teach people how to do, is to show them this creative finance process, something that clearly we've been developing for a long time, and open up your mind as to what's possible. And then, of course, something very important, which is, how would this apply to you? However we can help you next, we would love to know how to do that. And just reach out to us, but just let us know what we could do to help you start applying these strategies to your business. See you later. Bye-bye.